Shalom and good day all, this is Tequila29 back again for another indie comic review, and in this indie comic review I'll be covering both Kingspawn, the latest issue, and also Blood Tree, issue 3. I'll now get things organised in regards to the first one that will be covered. So as we jump into the first issue that will be covered, we have Kingspawn issue 21. And first things first, does this cover in any way, shape, or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? To which I give it a yes and a 7.5 out of 10. It's now time to move into the internal art, which we'll have a look around the beginning, middle, and end, and some of the things that are happening inside with the story. So as we start to move into the beginning, we have Spawn going through a facility which is connected to the Exodus Foundation. As we start to jump a little bit further, we do catch up with the characters known as Sam and Twitch. And as they draw upon a scene, we end up seeing Cyan, who is Spawn's daughter, doing something against Terry. The story continues, and someone tries to use a little bit of leverage against one of the characters, or attempted blackmail of sorts. We get a little bit of violence that happens in the story because of someone connected to the Exodus Foundation. And as we start to draw towards the end, they try to make their escape, until finally Spawn turns up on the scene. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the main story rating, or what makes up the main story rating. And the first thing that we will be addressing, did it actually have any comic references? Sure enough, we did, to which it addresses Spawn's issue 267 to 269. Next is the area of time, to which later was used. Next we had the locations, to which we had a hotel and a bar. The bar was made use of mainly in one of the panels, and you could make out that it was a bar, and we were also told throughout the story that Spawn was going through one of the hotels. Moving into the cast of characters, we have Spawn, Cyan, Terry, Sam and Twitch. We also had Bateman Maryville. And last but not least, we had a connection to the Exodus Foundation, which is one of the groups that appeared in the story. For the overall rating for this, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move on to Peter J. Tomasi's Blood Tree. So, as we move into Peter J. Tomasi's Blood Tree, does this cover in any way, shape, or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Not so much. It does feel like a little bit of a mislead, but apart from that, I do give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the main part of the story, to which we have a look at the internal art around the beginning, middle, and the end. Now, as the story begins, we have Dario investigating an area, which is at a lake in the Bronx, in New York. We get to move a little bit further into the story, to which they notice some animals. We start to move back into the main character, who has been responsible for some of the deaths related to this blood tree. We advance a little bit further in the story as they manage to drop into a diner and, of course, go by a theatre. And as we jump into, say, one of the theatre scenes a little bit further in the story, we can now see where this person who has been doing these executions has somewhat gotten some of their inspiration from. We move a little bit further. They manage to find one of the suspects' houses, or one of the suspects' house, and they finally start to see what the blood tree is and how it starts to appear, and a whole list of names that are still on their list. And last but not least, towards the end of the film, or towards the end of the story, and what's to be expected for the next issue in its cover. Okay, for the internal art, I do feel it's slightly improved a bit, which I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Might be a little bit too generous. Feel free to let me know if it deserved anything higher or maybe lower. Next is the area of the story rating, to which, seeing this isn't a big ongoing story right now, there's presently no need for references unless the writer puts in the references to let the audience know if it's connecting to any of the previous issues. But seeing that there aren't, we move right into the next area, which is time. We know that in the time area, these series of events are taking place a day later. The locations to which the characters went to were the van, Cortland Lake at Bronx, New York. We also went to the Grand Concourse. The characters also went to the St. Luke's Catholic Church, as well as the theatre, and also a place called Bailey Avenue. The cast of characters consisting of Detective Diaz, Dario, and of course Owen Fincher. So we have finally learned one of the names of the suspects. And if this suspect is the actual villain that they're looking for. Or are they working for someone else? So for the overall story rating, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.